You've probably seen the adverts. AI coaching can take seconds off your lap time. But how realistic is this for a new driver, or any driver for that matter? Today we aim to find out. My name is SimRacing Kez, and I've been running a total noob to 5,000 iRating challenge on iRacing since January this year. You can check out that challenge later if you wish, but for now let's focus on the task in hand. Now, you've likely heard of one or two of these, but I found 4 AI coaching programs to compare, and we're going to do that in the fairest way possible. Firstly, I've bought these subscriptions out of my own money, so you know for a fact that this review will be completely neutral. And secondly, I'm going to try each different AI coach at a different track, and most importantly, at a track I have never tried before. We're going to review these in order of price, which I'll show you in the video too, so let's get into it. First up is Bloops, a free-to-use AI coach that, although doesn't have voice capability as of yet, is worth reviewing because it's making waves in the iRacing world. But just how good is it? The only reference I have to its creator is the Reddit handle Dunkersaw who looks like he's created this himself. Impressive stuff. It was an absolute no-brainer to test this one out. It's free, we like free, let's get straight into it. Okay, so for the first test, we're going to do the McLaren GT3 at Road Atlanta, which I've never raced before. So just take this really briefly. There's my name, obviously. This will all configure in. I've logged into Garage 61 because this is all Garage 61 dependent. And I've also logged into their Discord and their Garage 61, which gives me some laps to actually go off. If you look at the lap that is the fastest that they brought up automatically for me to race against, and we look at it in Garage 61, what you notice here is the lap they brought up is actually in the Acura. So as we know, a lot of these cars, the GT3s, have different braking points, which means the fastest lap they brought up for us to just go straight in and actually compare against was actually in a different car. Now, the only way that I found that you can get around this is to go into each lap, and I'll show you what I mean. On here, you can select the lap. So that took actually about 3 minutes to actually load up these. These are a combination of Bloops' Garage 61 laps and my team laps. The big problem with this is that it doesn't tell you what car this time was done in. It tells you the track temps, tells you the setup and the times and everything else. So if we choose Wasim's, so that's interesting. This lap's been marked as private to your team. Please try another. Hadn't seen that before. So some of these are actually private as well within Bloops. I'm going to stick with the one they gave us. It is in the Acura, and that's kind of a problem because the braking points might be different to where the McLarens are. Looking at the rest of it, it brings up I'm at Road Atlanta in the McLaren, which is good news. So the main thing you want to do first, select the audio device that's correct. Mine's the headphones. And then you've got these brake bloops, lift bloops, and throttle bloops. And it's all about these noises in your ear that are going to help you brake at certain points and throttle at certain points. So the overlay is really useful. If we put it on, you can move it around. You can put it anywhere you like. What it does, it compares the Garage 61 information and telemetry from the lap you've got selected, and it puts it in behind your live one. So that's really useful, and I'll show you how that works. We're going to just focus on the Bloops for now, and then down here you can change what's in the overlay. So in terms of UI, it's really nice, very simple. It looks really good, and for a free program, it looks amazing. So now to actually test it, I've got the track map on from Race Labs, and that helps me when I'm at a new track. I'm going to keep that in the corner. It doesn't come with Bloops, that's actually a Race Labs thing. We're going to go round and you're going to start to hear what this thing is doing. Now, all I'm going to do is go really slow at this stage. I don't know the track, I've never been in. You can hear that bleep. That bleep, I think, is a throttle bleep. And that's the brake bleep. Okay, so it is really useful in terms of where to brake, and when I'm comparing it with the track map, that is useful indeed. And I'm assuming if there's no beep at all, there is no brake. And again, I think that one's the throttle. The high one's the throttle. Okay, so as you can see, it's really useful. I've never been here before. I seem to be getting around the track okay. I'm just looking at this track map at the same time. And it's telling me exactly where to brake. Obviously that's at full speed, but it does give you an idea. And as I speed up, as I get used to the track a bit more, it's going to get really, really useful. So we're back in the pits, and what we're going to do now is we're going to turn off all of the bloops except the brake one. The only thing about bloops is it doesn't give you an idea of where to turn or anything like that. So is the racing line just as good? We'll do a racing line test compared to bloops as well. Okay, so racing line on, all I want to do is just to check where the bloops are versus where the red bits are. I mean, it's pretty pretty identical there. Having a racing line is quite useful too. Okay, so the bloop was a little bit after the racing line there, but not miles away, probably about 5-10 meters. I'd say that was exactly the same as the racing line there. And exactly the same as the racing line there too. So I've got to be honest, it isn't much different. It's pretty identical there. Okay, so not much difference between the bloops and the actual red markers on the braking lines. But what I'm going to do now is show you the telemetry, because I think that's going to make a big difference. So we're back in the garage. You can see the telemetry down the bottom there. You can adjust this how you want, but at the moment it's got everything on it, just so you can see exactly what it is we're looking at. What we're going to do is just go around again, just nice and slow, with the racing line on, so I don't have to think about too much where I'm going. And now we can see, if you look down below, you can see my telemetry, where I'm going up and down there on the throttle, and that's the telemetry that I should be using for this ideal lap. So you can see braking points, you can see how much they're braking, and that, I think, is going to be the difference. That's the difference between the racing line and bloops. So you've got to try and get the right balance for you, but in terms of a free program offering all of this, that's a very high braking zone. I broke too much. You can kind of see what they're doing, whether they're lifting or not, where they're going to be accelerating, and over like 10, 15, 20 laps, you're going to start to understand. Maybe you can go flat through that, which you wouldn't have known before. So each lap, I'm finding that I'm just getting a little bit closer to that telemetry, and that's really good news. It takes a little while, but for a free program, it's awesome. I've got to say, so far the experience has been fantastic. Cool, that section is fast. That's better. So if you look at the difference that time, I'm nearly identical to what he was doing there. So that gives you a good example of what you're seeing here. You've got the bloops in your ear, which is the audio signal, but now you've got a visual signal too. With the racing line on, that's going to help me especially, because I'm not thinking now about where I need to be turning. But once you know the track, the audio and the visual should give you a really good indicator of how to get faster around this track. However, there is one caveat. What happens when it's gone? Because at this stage, I'm not even looking for brake references and markers, which I would do normally. I'm just thinking about the thing in my ear. So are people going to use this in the race? That's a bit of an ethical question, isn't it? I think you could probably get used to this, having that beep. That's going to really help you out. You're not actually looking for visuals. Does that take away from your vision and your visual knowledge? I guess I quite like looking out for markers. However, if I'm in a battle, for example, on a corner, and I've lost my braking marker, having that in your ear is going to be really, really useful. Now, I would never use this in a race. You'd hear it anyway, because you watch my videos, because I don't want it to take away from the experience. But as a training tool, I think it's very, very useful. Next up is Z1 Race Tech. On the website, it claims to be the world's first ever AI race coach, which I'll assume is correct. According to the website, it is compatible with ACC, iRacing and race rooms. And in the package, you get the AI race coach and also telemetry and analyzing software. But today we'll mainly be looking at the AI coach aspect. I went for the $8.99 package on a monthly basis, which means I can use it on more than one track. And a quick side note to make sure you switch it from annual to monthly if you don't want a surprise bill here. I like that it has an AI instructor and, excitingly, a track walk. For new players who don't know a track, this might come in very useful, as learning the track for me is probably the hardest thing I have to do. Let's see how it performs on the track. Next up is Z1, and this is what you come to when you download. There's 4 different sections to download. The AI part is in the analyzer section because I couldn't find it before. And we've got track walk and driving instructor. We're going to have a look at track walk. That took about 5 minutes to load. Unfortunately, it isn't quite what we expected. It's telemetry, but from a top-down view, it's not going to walk me around the track. It isn't what I expected. So let's have a look at the actual AI coach if we can find it. So now we're racing at Imola, which I've also never raced, in the same car, the McLaren GT3. I've got the AI voice on, I think. I had to go through the dashboard, put in my license 3 times. It was very, very difficult, but I think this is the AI. So we'll find out together whether this thing's any good.
It's Greg, your Z1 driving instructor. I'd love to be able to help you on this car and track combination, but I am still learning it myself. As soon as I am up to speed on it, I'll do all I can to help you get faster.
Bit annoying that she's telling me what gear I'm in every time. I've managed to somehow turn her voice off. Let's find out what Greg does, our Australian AI friend. Okay, so unfortunately there's no help with learning the track initially within the AI. So I've left the racing line on just so I don't crash. Now I'm assuming that I've got to do a few laps before he's going to help me out. So this might be the quickest review ever because I've just done 8 laps, gone from 149 to 146.1 of my own volition with zero help from the AI because he hasn't come on. He did say at the beginning, as you heard, that he's going to have to learn the track, but I don't know how many laps he wants me to do before he starts helping me out. So I think I'm going to call it, if I'm honest. I don't know how many more laps I've got to do before it's actually going to help me out. There's no instructions whatsoever. In terms of usability, UI instructions, it's very, very poor in my opinion. It's only one opinion, but I can't get on with it at all. So that's a review. That's it. I can't sit here all day and do like 50 laps before it starts helping me out. That's kind of defeats the object, right? Now it's time to try one you might have already heard of, Grid and Go. Now, Grid and Go, from what I can gather, are primarily racing setup specialists, and I've heard very good things about them, but this review will be solely for their AI coach. Again, as far as I can see on their website, Grid and Go is only compatible with iRacing, but you are welcome to correct me. They have 4 packages in total, ranging from setups, telemetry, and track guides. But the one I chose was package 3 for €15 a month, which gives you the AI coach plus pretty much everything else. From what I could see, this is only offered on a monthly basis, so no annual price surprises. But what about the AI coaching? Let's find out. So now it's time to look at Grid and Go's AI coach. It's very, very simple to install. It took about a minute. Once you pull up the software, as you can see, it's already recognized them at Monza in the McLaren. And it's given me lots of options on what tracks to use. And what I really like about this that the other two didn't have is they've got professionals that actually put the reference laps for you at this track and in this car. So there's no kind of, oh God, this is the wrong reference lap, wrong car. Everything is done for you, which is fantastic. We're going to pick the GT Sprint at Monza. And if you look down, you can see the Garage 61 team lap, which you can use yourself or your own reference laps too, which is another plus. So we'll select that lap. So that takes you into 3 options. You've got the track guide, the entry lesson, and the exit lesson. And what I really like and I'm really excited about is this is going to take you around a track that you've never driven before. And that's the one thing I really wanted, because as a new player, I go to tracks all the time and it takes me ages to learn them. This is going to tell me apparently where to brake and what gear to use. So that could be really useful. So let's select that.
Just close your eyes and listen to my voice. Just kidding. Start driving when you're ready.
Okay, cool AI voice, not too annoying. Let's start this and see what happens. So just a quick point on this, there's loads of overlays that you can use, but I'm not going to put them on just yet. We'll have a look at those in a second. I just want to focus on the AI voice for now so you can judge that for yourself.
Let's start with the track guide. As soon as we approach a turn, I'll tell you how to brake and what gear to use. Start slow and get to know the track. Turn 1 heavy, braking around 90%. Downshift to first gear.
Okay, so we've got these great bloops and it's telling me 90% in first gear, which is so useful. All right, so far this is super impressive. It tells me the actual gear, the brake percentage, and it's even got the bloops of when to brake. I have to say I like this a lot. It's very easy to understand, very clear instructions, and it's not overpowering as well.
Turn 7 heavy, braking around 80%. Downshift to third gear.
One thing I have noticed is the bloops are not very loud in your ear, especially when he's talking, so I'm going to see if there's a sound adjustment on that. So we put a few laps in and it's really, really good. There's lots of information and probably the right information in terms of what you need in your ear. One thing that I would say is there's not many corners at Monza, so I don't know how it would handle on a track that's got tons and tons of corners. That information, bang, 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 all the time could be off-putting. I really like what it does. Let's have a look at the overlays. We'll take a really quick look at the overlays now. Very, very simple. The graph looks like telemetry, and that's probably live telemetry too. You've got your inputs, and that will be the input from the reference lap as well. Off tracks, obviously, as normal. Rotation, this one's quite interesting. If your rotation's miles off, it's going to be further away from the arrow in the middle. Turn rating looks really useful. It gives you a rating, looks like out of 10. That's 5.9 on my last one. Tells you if you're faster and quicker through that or slower, for example. Turn analysis, partly too fast an entry, slow down more. Again, so that goes a little bit deeper into the turn. KPIs also looks really useful. You've got your entry speed, exit speed, and then the minimum speed. And it looks like the reference speed as well. So you know that you can potentially go a bit faster in that corner. And subtitles, I don't like reading things on screen, but if that's what you prefer, it will actually tell you instead of having it in your ear. So I want to show you what they look like when they're all on. Now this is going to be nuts, especially if you're a new driver. Having all of this information and trying to concentrate on the track is going to be virtually impossible. I'd recommend you do one at a time. I'm just going to pick the turn rating because that looks really interesting to me, where they're going to rate me on each corner, and then I can potentially try and get better on each corner. Okay, so it's rated me 3.1 for that one, and it rates me against the actual reference lap, so that's pretty good. So you're going up against aliens essentially. Okay, so I missed that turn completely. Again, because the bloops are not very loud, but it gave me a 5 out of 10, which is odd. Maybe that's a 0.
5 with braking around 60%. Downshift to 3rd gear.
Okay, so a better couple of turns there. I'm starting to improve just from what he's telling me. Now, I'm not going to go through all the overlays because some will work for you and some won't. I would highly recommend don't use them all at the same time. But in a nutshell, it's a very simple piece of software. It's got more than Bloops, which I quite like. Bloops is just the Bloops. It's kind of like Bloops on steroids. It's got more overlays and it's got the braking points and the gears and stuff. It's particularly good if you're new to the game because the track guide and just getting used to the track when you're first starting, I have to say it's a really, really nice piece of software. And finally, this is probably the one you've all heard of, Trophi AI. If you know Garage 61, you'll have heard of this, and it's advertised everywhere right now. They call the AI coach itself Mansell AI, which I'm assuming is named after the founder Scott Mansell, rather than the F1 legend Nigel. It's compatible with iRacing, ACC, F124, and, wait for it, Rocket League. Not sure how that works, but I guess it must. This is the most expensive out of all of them, and they have 3 packages in total. They offer monthly and annual options, and the price saving is actually significant if you choose annual. We went for the $15.99 monthly option, which gives us the AI Coach Plus telemetry and overlays. But if you want to get it on the annual basis, it actually comes down to $9 a month. I will add the $9 is currently on 50% savings at limited time. They are the only company to offer a free 7-day trial too, which I think is excellent and would be a great option for all of them. The higher package is linked to Grid and Go's setups and telemetry, and you can even get a package that includes a real-life coach if you have the money for it. Most importantly though, how does it compare to the other 3 on the track? So finally it's time to review Trophi AI, and this has got a lot contained with it. So let's just have a quick brief overview of what it gives you. So you've got your coach, which is Mansell AI, you've got your telemetry overlays, real-time skill analysis, and then you can book your live coaching session. You've obviously got to pay for that in the higher package. The other thing I can find is the Driver 61 University and a mini game. So you've got some coaching essentially within the game. So once you click into Mansell AI, this is what you get. You get this little round thing here that you can move around, and this little button here will let you start your session. But you can also choose what session you're going to do as well. So you've got track acclimatization, your track coach, and your chat only. We'll start off with the track acclimatization because that's always the most useful thing for me, and see how that works. Just a quick add to that, it's actually selected the expert lap for me. So that's useful. I'd have to go hunting for that.
Hello there, I'm Mansell, your AI racing coach. Welcome to Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari. As we race around the track, I'll guide you through each corner, starting with the basics like turn direction and type. As you get more comfortable, I'll offer advice on braking points, gear selection, and more. Let's get acclimatized and make the most of this session.
I really like that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking to try and get used to this track. Never driven here before like all the others. It sounds promising so far.
We're approaching Variant Villeneuve Part 1, a left corner. Enter from the right with medium braking. Braking was late last time. Start braking around 15 meters earlier to find the right balance here.
So that was really late information. I'm finding that some corners is giving you some and some it's not at all, like this corner.
You're coming up on Variante Alta Part 1, a tightening right-hander chicane. Approach from the left and prepare for a hard brake. Make sure to downshift to second gear at the apex for optimal acceleration on exit.
So this information's super late. I don't know what turns they're talking about. It's not even going to tell me about this.
Approaching Rivazza Part 1, a left corner from the right. Apply hard braking earlier and increase pressure above 49.8% for better control. Aim for about 65% under braking.
I'm starting to get more information, but I don't know what corners they're really talking about. This is obviously the one. It's also a lot of information, so I don't know if I can remember all of that. I need something that's easy. So I pulled it over there because it's actually really confusing. There's a lot of words and they're not in time, I have to say. It's missing certain corners. It gives you one or two corners, but if you don't know the name of the corner, then you've had it. And I think as a noob, I don't know the name of any of these corners. So I'm going to try and find out if I'm doing something wrong, and I can adjust the settings a bit so it gives me some clearer, just maybe shorter information, because that's going to be useful to me. So looking at the options here, I've set my max feedback points to 1 now to make that hopefully a little bit easier. And also you can select a couple of other things in here, like you can turn off speed analysis, turn in points, and just turn on certain ones. So we'll have another go at this. I've just picked breakpoint and speed analysis and 1 actual point per turn. So hopefully this will give me all of the turns and less information, so I'll start to get that.
As you approach Variante Villeneuve Part 1 again, a left from the right with medium braking, aim for 4th gear at the apex. Remember, you entered the previous apex with too low a gear, which compromised your exit speed. Maintain momentum by selecting the right gear.
Okay, that's better, but it's still a lot of words. So again, no information on this corner, and that's...
Approaching Variante
I don't know how useful
Alta
that
Part
is.
1 again. We're nearing Variante Alta Part 1, a tightening right turn from the left. Aim to brake hard and a little earlier than last time, about 10 meters sooner. Shift down to second gear as you navigate through the apex to maintain control.
So that's interesting. It told me what gear to be in about 5 seconds after I'd actually taken the turn. It's not what I thought it was going to be, I have to say. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I'm going to look into the settings and just make sure. I mean, I've brought it down to 1 point per turn. There doesn't seem to be any bloops. It's not telling you the percentage. As a new player, I'm overwhelmed. So without the racing line here, which kind of defeats the object, it's not that useful to me. I'm going to look at it again. I'm going to just try and look at the settings and I'll come back to you. So there was nothing else that I could do to make it more simple than the track acclimatization. So now we're going to look at the actual track coach and see what's different about that.
Brake 10 meters later on this left corner to optimize your line.
10 meters later on this left corner. So, but where did I brake last time? Maybe if you know the track and you know where you're braking,
on that last left
useful.
corner, stop on the trail braking,
mean,
turn it. Keep that up.
It doesn't even mention that chicane as if it doesn't exist. So I just want to show you the telemetry at the bottom here and how this works. It doesn't look like it goes off a reference lap. It actually does. So there's a reference lap for the braking, and I'm assuming you can change that as well for everything else. So this will be useful to go along with it.
We're approaching Variante Villeneuve
That's for
Part
sure.
1, a sharp left corner. Ease into the medium brake as you enter, watching your brake pressure. Try not to exceed 54% as you have in the past.
This certainly would be more useful to have on, because you can kind of now see the braking point and where and how to brake. But this does change things a little bit, because now I can see where to brake. I didn't have that before, but I don't find the voice useful at all. In fact, I find it quite a big distraction.
A tightening right. Enter from the left, brake hard, but aim
So you
to
see
keep
how
pressure
late
under
that information
50%
is?
and stay in third gear. At
I'm
the apex.
already past the turn, I assume. I don't know what turn it's talking about. Now, I'm sure the rest of this package is very good in terms of the lessons and the games, etc. I've got to judge this on my first impressions on the AI voice. And I have to say at this stage, it is very confusing. I can't really get what they're saying. They're missing corners. The telemetry helps a lot because now it gives me a visual on where to brake and how hard to brake. But I think there's a couple of others that do it much better than this. This isn't going to be a long review because I find the voice actually quite annoying too. So it's very hard to just have them in my ear all the time. So it was okay, but I don't know if it was more than okay. So time for a final summary, and I'll do these in reverse order. As you can see, in 4th place was Z1 Coach. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get it to work at all. The UI is confusing, and I spent about 2 hours trying to find out how many laps I had to do before it actually kicked in, and that was just too time consuming. It might actually be fantastic, but you really want something that just works straight out of the box with clear instructions, and for $8.99 a month, sadly it didn't for me. Side note, it was a pain to cancel the subscription too. In 3rd place, we have Trophi AI. I was expecting great things from this, but judging it from a noob's perspective, it just failed to deliver versus the other two. Lots of missed corners, it was overly wordy, and trying to remember where I broke in the last corner is just a bit tricky for newer players. The AI voice became a grind quickly too. The telemetry overlay made it a little better, and I'd highly recommend using that, but sadly, as the most expensive option, I think it fell short of expectations. Now, it was actually impossible to separate the top two, so I'm going to award them joint first, and I'll explain my reasons why, starting with Bloops. Bloops, amazingly, is totally free to use. There is potentially an issue with finding the right reference track in the beginning, which can be a pain, and loading times can be long searching for reference laps. But aside from that, it's a brilliant training tool. The braking Bloops are spot on every time, and when you add the live telemetry, it changes the game completely. Given the potential to add an AI voice and other features later, this could potentially blow everything else out of the water. A fantastic tool, I highly recommend. And finally, Grid and Go. I'd say this is the most polished of all of them, but it does come with a €15 a month price tag, which is why I couldn't separate it from Bloops because we aren't really judging them from the same ballpark. Grid and Go's AI coach is brilliant, clear and concise, and you get the brake percentage and gear well in advance of every corner. It never missed a single turn. It also has the Bloops too, a host of overlays to choose from, and some of them are massively helpful, so pick which combination suits you best. As a newer player to iRacing, this ticks all the boxes. It would have been the outright winner, except that not everyone can afford €15 a month, although it does come with the setups in the package. Is there potential for a separate AI coach only package to make it more affordable to everyone? Maybe. Thank you for listening, guys. This turned into a longer video than I expected, but I was keen to show you the difference between all the AI coaches rather than do them one by one. My name is SimRacing Kez. See you on the track.